All right, then we move to your favorite fight of the card, Germaine de Randamie. Ooh, buddy, she made things a little bit interesting for Amanda Nunes. Now, in the end, the greatest women's fighter of all time keeps her UFC bantamweight title, but it got dicey there, Brian Campbell. Let's think about it this way. First, what does a win like this do for Amanda Nunes in terms of, if anything, maybe the answer is nothing, but in terms of solidifying her GOAT status?
It's a push in that regard. Although I think there's many elite things you could pull out of her. I mean, her ability to take down GDR at will and just grind her to the ground and pick her up and slam her at any point where there was danger, it's certainly elite, and it's another part of her completely well-rounded game, right? She brought in the gas tank. She brought in the full package, right, from her early days. But if you're going to be real fine-tooth combed and pick a little bit of negatives for the reasons why she wrestled so much in the third, fourth, and fifth rounds, I think there's room to do that. Now, fighters can't win, right?
But would you make the same criticism of Kamaru if he wrestled Jorge?
Well, that's the thing. Fighters can't win because sometimes they'll criticize, Floyd Mayweather used to get that. Man, he's not going in there and trying to knock guys out. Well, he's efficient and sticking to what he does best, and he's picking you apart. In a lot of ways, that's what Nunes figured out in this fight, and she did it rounds 3, 4, and 5 and got the victory. And in a couple minutes, we can also criticize Terrence Crawford for going there and brawling a somewhat limited guy and making that fight more exciting than it had to be. So you can never win. But within the grounds here, GDR put on a championship-level performance from the standpoint of defense, toughness, and trying to find paths to victory that were tiny openings that she tried to exploit and came pretty close on 3 or 4 occasions. So it's one of those things where do you say, pretty smart of Amanda Nunes, not take any chances the rest of the way, got rocked a couple times, let's just get out of here with a win? Or do you say GDR made her do that, and that's not what GOATs do? I'm not willing to say that.
No, I think GOATs win often by dominant display. Sometimes they win by hook or by crook. Even Fedor in his prime getting rocked by Kazuyuki Fujita, who is not even on the level of a GDR in terms of a contender. He got rocked. But even I remembered it to this day because it stood out to me at the time when I watched the fight. Rampage was doing commentary with Quadros and Rutin at the time, and Fedor gets rocked, comes back, and then hits that body kick with that right hook, or maybe even a left hook, and then he, essentially stops Fujita. First of all, Rampage made fun of his teeth. But secondly, what he said was, he goes, that's what champions do. That is what champions do. Sometimes champions get pushed. And in this game, nobody is invincible. What I would say is, to me, in terms of adding to her GOAT status, it's not like you can add de Randamie and say, oh my God, de Randamie was so active. She was beating all the contenders. You could say she's very talented, but she'd only fought once. This is the first time since 2013, the first time she lost to Amanda Nunes, where she had fought twice in this calendar year. What you can say, though, is she got pushed. And she answered for it. She didn't gas. She didn't make bad decisions. She didn't panic. She listened to her corner, and she used her well-rounded abilities.
And she showed a chin. Amanda had to show a chin.
Dude, Germaine de Randamie whipped Aspen Ladd around with some of the same punches that Amanda Nunes just took.
I mean, there were 4 moments, right? It was the double knee to the face and the kick to the head. That was one moment. It was certainly that stiff-ass up kick where you're like, is Amanda out? What just happened right there? And then there was the triangle on the bottom. Was there another moment? I mean, there was legitimate moments where you're like, this fight's going away. There's an upset brewing here.
Yeah.
And Amanda's ability to stomp that out was great. That's why she's the best.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's fair to just have the conversation. She fought that slow, predictable, and boring and got those boos in the final 3 rounds because of GDR's danger.
And the other part is, GDR's takedown defense. I mean, what she would do is she would fire the underhooks when she would get the stop, and then that would plant her legs, which just gave Nunes all the space she needed to get the trip. So, Nunes was just setting her up for it and got it very easily. And you could say, well, that's fairly, I'm not calling it rudimentary wrestling, but it's not advanced wrestling. Let's call it that. Maybe someone with more advanced wrestling could do something about it. But then you look down, it's like, okay, well, who is that? She beat Miesha Tate. She beat Ronda Rousey. She beat Holly Holm. She beat Shevchenko twice. Now this. The Kat Zingano one she could not. But Kat Zingano's not even in the UFC anymore. So that's not going to happen. There's a lot of different ways that you could say, oh, this is a weakness. And it is. It's an identifiable weakness. But every time someone has a chance to take advantage of it right now in her prime, they just can't.
I mean, she's great. She's amazingly great. Even with the slightest level of criticism for the way that she took the easier road, I mean, she was absolutely dominant in that first round and knocking GDR down, and she had her best success on the ground in that. But de Randamie, man, is a true Iron Lady, as the nickname says. Her ability to stop herself from getting close to being stopped and be able to responsibly maintain and actually score from the bottom, it completely changed that fight.
In some ways, that loss was one of de Randamie's better performances, quite honestly. Are 2 quick points. One, I thought the class that she showed in shouting out Walt Harris when, I'm not saying the MMA world had forgotten, but she just made sure that they didn't. I thought that was very touching. And 2, that's the good part. The bad part is, dude, who's she going to fight? I mean, I saw that Irene Aldana got a win. Okay, that's nice.
Unfortunately, that knocked out Ketlin Vieira, who was looking to be a good one. Look, I think Aspen Ladd is the next big one. Outside of the Valentina Shevchenko trilogy, which will eventually happen,
Yeah.
Ladd showed us a lot last week. It's not next, I don't think, but then again, who else is she going to fight? She should probably make a defense at featherweight at some point, but if you're talking about the next bantamweight one where I'm saying that person has a chance or that person is interesting, Ladd's strong. She can wrestle.
All right.
She's aggressive.
She just lost to de Randamie, though. Well, not just, but the one before. All right. Well, we'll see. All right.
Well, look, why is Jessica Eye getting a title shot at flyweight? Because there's nobody else there. We're in that sort of scenario right now where one good win sometimes can put you back in the conversation.